Hello, everyone. This is Jarrod Alberich, the yard sale artist, welcoming you to a Longbox Crusade Elseworlds episode. What is a Longbox Crusade Elseworlds, you might ask? Well, some of your favorite Longbox Crusade members have done some work over on some other podcast networks that you may or may not be familiar with. So from time to time, we will grab a show from the past that one or all of us has done on one of those other networks, and we'll play it for you here. Whether it's a James Bond Rookie Agent show from On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast Network, or a Comics with Normies from White Rocket Entertainment Network, or some other bit of alternate dimension craziness, we hope that you enjoyed this presentation of Longbox Crusade Elseworlds.
Hi, this is Trina Parks. I'm Thumper from Diamonds Are Forever, and you are listening to On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast, brought to you by our fine Patreon sponsors and White Rocket Entertainment. I'm your host for this program, Jarrod Alberich, the yard sale artist, a.k.a. Death Probe. Somebody give me a guitar riff. Sometime we don't need effects.
Sorry, I was on mute.
We don't need effects on this show. And joining me as veteran Bondophile co-host is my brother Jason, the Weasel Skull Alberich. Jason, what's the most Bond-like thing that you have done since last recording?
Well, you know, in honor of this film, I thought I would give it the old college try and ask Julie to come in and help me find the stationery.
And how did that go?
She said, find it yourself.
Yeah, all right. Buona, buona.
Yeah. And I did.
Twice. Oh, my goodness. It's ridiculous. Oh, well, that update. This episode is the 22nd of an ongoing series on this channel called MI6 Rookie Agents. You probably know that because you clicked on the banner, but you know what? Let me tell you what happens here. On Rookie Agents, Jason and I are taking two friends from our lives who were not very familiar with the 007 universe. We are so closing in on the end here, people. Through the entire James Bond series of films, one movie at a time, we're getting their newcomer's point of view. We're judging it harshly, especially Jason, Delvin, for your eyes only. Go back and listen, people. And we're just getting their inputs on this film series that we love so much here at On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast. So let's welcome our Rookie Agents to the show. We will start with Delvin. What's the most Bond-like thing that you've been up to since the last recording?
As you guys know, I'm kind of into the whole jiu-jitsu thing and always looking to hone my craft and get better. And I asked my instructor, Steve, you know, how I've been doing recently. And he said, ha, hoo, ya, pathetic.
Sorry to hear that, but at least it was amusing.
Steve happened to be a media mogul?
Elderly gentleman?
Just very good at jiu-jitsu, you know, hurt my feelings, but it's okay.
Pat, you've been suspiciously silent through the intro. Welcome back, sir. Pat, a.k.a. DJ Christatos, got his name from this very franchise. What's the most Bond-like thing you've done since last recording?
Well, Jarrod, I'm glad you asked. I think the most Bondian thing I've done lately is did a little bathroom work, got our shower fixed, so I've been kind of walking around in a terry cloth onesie.
What color?
Blue, baby blue.
Baby blue?
You're doing it right. I got a recommendation, too. Got that shower going the way you want it. Have the missus put on her most beautiful evening gown and just go in, sit down, turn the shower on. You put on the tux. You sit right next to her. Let the water cascade over you. Helps if you've killed some guys in a stairwell. This is getting weird and specific.
Maybe that might happen. I might just sit in the shower by myself in my terry cloth onesie.
That's also an option.
And then look at the camera and go, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, enough of that. Let's move this along. In case you guys didn't know, we're planning on releasing the show monthly as a companion to the show that Van Allen Plexico and Alan Porter are doing. They are currently doing one 007 film per month as we build towards the release date of Bond 25, which we now know is called No Time to Die. And the show is just going to follow along with them. They're that academic sort of scene-by-scene, trivia-based show that everybody wants. And then there's our show where it's all about getting the rookies' opinions, having some fun, laughing, having a good time. So if you want to let your James Bond hair down, let that Dracula hair down, and join us here and have a little fun with us.
We're like the back of the head. You know, their business in front.
With a party
With a party in the back.
Or like if James Bond had a mullet.
All part of a sexy mullet going on.
Let's get to today's film, which is Quantum of Solace. But before we get our mission brief from Agent Jason, he's going to jump right in the action with no parachute in our segment called What Makes You Say That?
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin. Says speak or forever hold your peace.
All right, this is how What Makes You Say That works. I give Jason a line from the film. He rewinds the film in his head and gives us the line that came before it. This is the most challenging thing you could possibly do. I don't know, that's hyperbole. But
it's pretty hard.
It's not the easiest thing. Plus, as Jason has stated, and I'm on board with him, it gets harder and harder as the movies get newer and newer because we've seen them fewer and fewer times. So I'm trying to lob some semi-softballs in here for Jason. You guys can giggle at that if you want.
I'll save my giggles for nuggets tucked away, but
Jason, I got two for you tonight. All right, limber up and get ready.
Let's have them.
Here we go. Here's your first one. I've heard that before.
I'm stumped on this one.
Rookies, any help? I could try it with a better accent, more feminine, authoritarian accent. Wink.
Yeah, I kind of got the sense that it's him.
It is him. I've heard that before. That wasn't bad. Sounds a little bit like C-3PO there at the end.
Yeah, a little robotic.
Man, I don't know. You got me.
All right. I know these will get tougher as the movies get more recent. The line before it was, yes, ma'am, I'll do my best.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I think you're going to have a comeback in round two. All right.
I hope so.
Get your comeback gloves on. Here we go. The line is, I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do. Man, I'm lost again.
Oh, man. We haven't had a night like this since Moonraker, boys.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, this is worse than Moonraker. I don't even know what scene it's from.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. That's Bond.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's Bond himself saying, I'm sure they do. And he's being kind of a jackass to our main villain.
Oh, yeah. My friends call me Dominic.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I needed some help there. Yeah, these are harder for me, man.
I'm with you.
This one, I probably only watched this one maybe 4 times. And that's like
twice for me. Yeah. Yeah, maybe 4. I've seen Skyfall probably a dozen, so I probably would do better at Skyfall, but I don't have to play the game. You do. So fair enough, though, Jason. You gave a valiant effort. Nobody's mad at you. Why don't you go ahead and give us a quick mission brief on Quantum of Solace?
Alrighty.
He'd be a pretty cold bastard who didn't want revenge for the death of someone he loved.
I don't think the dead care about vengeance. This man and I have some unfinished business.
The first thing you should know about us is that we have people everywhere.
What the hell is this organization, Bond? How can they be everywhere and we know nothing about them?
This is the world's most precious resource. We need to control as much of it as we can.
Name check. Dominic Green.
He's a person of extreme interest.
We've already begun destabilizing the government.
You know who Green is and you want to put us in bed with him. Yeah, you're right. We should just deal with nice people.
Get in.
All right. Careful with this one, Mr. Bond. She won't go to bed with you unless you give her something she really wants.
I think someone wants to kill you.
You two do make a charming couple, though. You're both, what's the expression? Damaged goods.
Seems we're both using Green to get to somewhere.
You lost someone?
I did.
You catch whoever did it?
No, not yet.
Tell me when you do. I'd like to know how it feels.
We need you to get rid of him.
When you can't tell your friends from your enemies, it's time to go.
Right now, I think you're the only person I can trust.
James, move your ass.
I wish I could set you free, but your prison is in there.
You don't have to worry about me.
Pay attention, 007.
Well, Quantum of Solace pretty much picks up where Casino Royale left off, with James Bond absconding with a hobbled Mr. White. After a harrowing car chase / pre-title sequence, Bond and M settle in to question Mr. White for some good old-fashioned enhanced interrogation techniques. Before they can get the goods, however, they are betrayed by a mole in the organization that rescues White and nearly kills M. Realizing that MI6 is compromised, M dispatches Bond to follow the clues to Haiti, where he unravels a fiendish plot by a corporate environmentalist to monopolize the Bolivian water supply and to install a ruthless general as the head of a puppet government. Worst of all, Bond's own government is involved and he is set up for murder and disavowed. What does he do? He goes rogue!
What?
Yes! Yes! Daniel Craig goes rogue! Could you believe it?
The hell you say?
Teaming up with a former ally that he did dirty and a beautiful former Peruvian agent bent on revenge, Bond takes the fight to Green and his henchmen. Realizing that Green and his organization were responsible for the death of Vesper only makes 007 more determined to use that license to kill. Brutal fistfights, a high-octane boat chase, a thrilling aerial sequence, and an explosive finale in the Atacama Desert are only some of the highlights of Daniel Craig's second appearance as Bond. 007 is clearly back, or, in his own words, he never left. If you'd have used that line, I would have done okay. Just saying, Jarrod. It's the only one I memorized. Aside from Marky Daniel Craig's second foray as James Bond, Quantum of Solace introduced director Mark Foster to the list of those who have helmed a Bond movie. Quantum was another financial success for the franchise, raking in $168 million in the U.S. and $586 million worldwide. Critically, this movie is kind of a mixed bag, with its rating near the bottom of the list for many 007 fans. The cast included Daniel Craig as James Bond, Olga Kurylenko as Camille, Matthew Amalric, and I don't know if I said that right at all, but it's best I got, Dominic Green, Giancarlo Giannini as Renee Mathis, Jeffrey Wright as Felix Leiter, and Judi Dench as M. And that's back to you, Jarrod.
Thank you for that, Agent Jason. Now let's find out what our rookie agents thought about this one in our segment called Declassified.
Do you expect me to talk?
We're going to break this movie into a few pieces, get the insights of our rookie agents, and then Agent Jason's going to give us his overall insights and Bond Bombs of trivia, and then he'll lead the boys into their scoring round to find out what they are going to score this film. We're going to break it into the following sections. We're going to have the pre-title sequence. We're going to talk about the song in the opening credits. We're going to do Agent Jarrod's Choice, where I pick something I think can stand out from the film, and then their overall opinion. So that's what's coming your way, and we're about to get into it. And gentlemen, I'm going to put something out there right from the beginning. Jason mentioned this earlier. This is at the bottom of the list of a lot of Bond fans. This is my last place film.
Oh.
Yes. I'm going to clear the decks on this right away. You guys can feel free to bring it up in your chat, whether you're going to or not. I just want to get this out there. We don't do a lot of negativity on the show. This is my bottom film just because I just think the action is filmed terribly. It's too scattershot. I can't follow what's going on. I feel like I get a headache every time I try to watch it. Having said that, I'm really glad that we've taken this journey together, because if you'd asked me 2 months ago what I thought of Quantum of Solace, I'd been like, no, thank you. I actually enjoyed watching it this time. I think once my brain was set to kind of filter that out, it's a good story with some good performances. So I just want to get that out of the way early, that I enjoy this mission with you guys. It has put a bright spot on even what I consider the dark parts of the Bond franchise. And with that being said, let's move on.
Can I jump on that just real quick?
I knew you would.
Yeah. Well, it was near the bottom of the list for me, too. And I think we talked a little bit about this with Casino Royale, which I think we all kind of scored a lot higher than you. And we talked about it, and I think a lot of it is like where we were, and you were in a tough spot, kind of coming out of a tough spot, you know, in your life. And this movie came out when I was getting divorced, or I was in the middle of my separation. And I think that tainted it a lot for me, too, because I haven't really watched it. I haven't for years, obviously, as demonstrated by my inability. It makes you say that. But I felt the same way. When I watched it this time in the place I am now in my life, I was like, this isn't so bad.
I'm not saying that it won't still be my last slot, but I won't look at it with an evil eye. I do love all of these movies.
Me too.
That's the end of that story. I love, people don't like Die Another Day. I like Die Another Day. People don't like, Quantum. I've discovered I actually like this film, and I'm happy that we've done this. But enough from hearing from us old agents. Let's get to these rookie agents. jump into the pre-title sequence. It was a little bit different this time. And I don't know, Pat.
Hello.
Pre-title sequence, thoughts, go.
Pre-title sequence. I thought it was a decent car chase. I do agree with you, though, on the shaky camera,
rapid cuts.
However it does. So you're trying to piece the action together, and it was like, oh, it's okay. But it was interesting, though, because of the story of it. And the opening title, I think it just goes into it right away. It opens up and you got some, flash, 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 and then when all this going on. I really like that. And then right at the end, when you find out, after that car's just getting beat to hell, man, and he's still driving that thing, even with the door off and all that going on. Then he opens up the trunk and Mr. White's in there and like, oh my God.
Well, they've got people everywhere.
Yep.
Including your trunk, apparently.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is right where we just kind of left off. So I kind of, in my mind, pieced things together at how we got Mr. White again. And there we go. And we're off on the race again.
Almost literally. Delvin, use those observational skills and tell me what was missing from that opening pre-title sequence.
Oh, so you're giving me a little bit of trivia.
I'm just throwing a little something. I just know you got a keen eye for these kind of things. You say you don't pay attention, but I bet you noticed.
Sure, because they did it at the end of the movie.
You got that right.
I wasn't going to say. I was going to,
Yeah. No, got to be at the start. I could see mixing a few things up. Maybe you want your martini stirred, not shaken for some reason. If you're the new Bond, just like Roger Moore wanted to be the one smoking the cigars, and I got it. No, you got to put the walk and the shooting at the beginning. You got
Well, it's interesting how they bookended. Those two movies are like the two that are like direct sequels.
Okay.
So I thought it was neat how they gun barrel bookended beginning and end. But I'm with you though, Delvin, that I gotta have it at the beginning.
Yeah.
It kind of made sense at the end though too, because he's like, I was always here or whatever, because he went, as Jason said, he went rogue. And so then M's like, I want you back. I've never left. And then you get the gun barrel. So
it's kind of like
I'm back.
The cool, sexy ending. Yeah. I got it, but it's not an ending because it's freaking Bond. So I'm at least a traditionalist that way. A traditional rookie agent that, they should have it at the beginning. I like it at the beginning.
I can personally that easily. Anyway, other thoughts, Delvin? I didn't mean to just kind of lead you to one spot.
Oh, no, that's fine. It was about as cut and dried of a beginning scene as you want to see. You start off the action immediately. And the one thing that happens when it comes to Bond movies is you don't know whether or not the pre-credit scene is going to tie into the movie or whether it's going to be just that cool aside thing before they jump into the main plot of the movie. And as you saw right at the end of the pre-credit, I go, oh, nope, this is right where the action left off from the end of Casino Royale. So off we go.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts before I hand the reins over to Jason to our next segment?
Oh, yeah. Just one small joke. I'm going to speak to this a little bit later. So it's good that I throw this small joke in here now. When he was going through the car chase and one of the cars that he successfully outmaneuvered rolled down the hill, I'm like, what? The car didn't explode? Isn't that what happens in Bond movies? The cars roll down hills and just like bust?
You're just like on the seat of your seat?
All right. But no, none of that happened because for better or for worse, this is not that Bond anymore. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, and I'm going to pick up that point. That's one of the things I don't like about Quantum of Solace. We talk about quick cut action, jumbly, just taking you back to just a few years ago to when that happened. The Hot Spy franchise was born, and Bourne was doing that. And we've said this on previous episodes. When James Bond follows the trends, that's when you get let down. They followed the Fast and Furious trend and Die Another Day. They followed the Jason Bourne formula in this film. Both of those films are at a lot of Bond fans' bottom of their list. So just take from it what you will.
Bond sets the trends. He doesn't follow them.
You got that right. Sounds like we're done with this round. So, Jason, what you got?
Well, let's get the fresh take from the rookies on the theme song and the opening credits. We'll switch it up and we'll let Delvin go first this time. What did you think of the theme song and the opening credits, Delvin?
So the opening credits were simple, just like the opening. It began and ended with the bullet that Bond shot. And that was a little bit of a throwback. I kind of liked the bullet and the simplicity of the opening credits. So nothing huge to say about that other than I liked that it was simple. It didn't have to be huge and complex. So that was good. The song. So I want to say good things first. The song, that opening, it matched the movie. That was cool because, you know, the car opens and you see Mr. White, or the trunk opens, see Mr. White, and it goes, da-na-na-na-na-na, and that was cool. I like that, and I like that part of the song because it just feels really out there. And then when you take that it's Jack White who plays the guitar, and it starts with one of his guitar licks, and then Alicia Keys plays the piano. So the piano was prominently displayed too, and it sounds really, really, really good. But the song continues.
Here comes the twist, I think.
It feels like when a smart kid, or in this case, two smart kids, do a book report and they didn't study for it. They started out hot, and then where they started losing me between like the lyrics itself was when they just
I was waiting for you to say it, Delvin. Yeah, I was right there with you.
I mean, it's like they ran out of material on the song, and what lost me on it was Alicia Keys' "Shoot 'em up, bang bang."
Bang. Yeah.
Just
you gotta repeat a lyric
it was
from another.
So started off great and just tail spun right into the ground for me. That's me. Maybe Pat has a different opinion on it.
No, I don't. I think you're really kind of spot on there. Even on the credit scene, you're right. It was just kind of, it's all right.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing special, and it was just very low key, as in Alicia Keys, but it was all right. I don't even know who Jack White is. Should I? I don't know.
He's from the White Stripes. Seven Nation Army. I
may have heard it, but I don't know. I'm not up on these new kids' song these days. Or whatever.
It's not even quite new anymore, but
I was listening to White Stripes in Iraq.
He was a really, really hot thing. Not like my hot thing.
We got one of those.
But
So,
I don't know. I don't want to rip too badly on what I do or do not like about Jack White. So.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't know anything about him. I'm like, well, who's this and who's this guy? And I kind of like, that's Alicia Keys. Okay, I know her, but Another Way to Die. And then, like you said, when she started singing that bang, bang, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, I'm going like they're going back to, Mr. Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang. And I'm like, why are you taking another, that lyric from that? And it was just like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
They just ran out of material, it sounded like. It's like, I don't know, maybe the Bond franchise reached out to them with 3 days left. or maybe the Bond franchise told them and they're like, oh, yeah, we got it. And then they're like, oh, crap, we got to do this Bond song because Alicia was off doing her thing and Jack White was off doing his 18 different bands. I don't know.
Yeah, he's also with the Raconteurs.
And the Dead Weather. See, I know trivia and stuff about it, but like, I'm personally not a fan. I'm just not a fan of his.
The beat was, it wasn't that bad of it.
No,
I also wonder if it would have been better just to do like
instrumental.
Yeah, like on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And just do that instrumental with the guitar and the piano. I think that
would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and then maybe even just throw in like a small chorus. I think that would have been great because I love that instrumental. It started out so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, oh yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
So it had its good points, but the bad points were when they started singing because Jack White can't sing. And Alicia Keys, she's okay, but I don't really need to hear her runs in the middle of a Bond song. What? All right, we talked about it enough.
I'm going to take these reins and I'm going to pass them to you, Pat. You know what to do.
All right, well, let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to rate the song. Again, the song is Another Way to Die by Jack White and Alicia Keys. So I'll start with Jason. 1 through 7. What are you going to rate this?
I agree with Delvin. The instrumental that part of it is outstanding. The vocals, not so bueno. 4. I'll give it a 4.
Okay. Jarrod.
For a fresher take on this, I'm going to agree with Delvin. The instrumental is outstanding. The vocals, no bueno. 4. I'm going to give it a 4.
Oh, that's really a fresh take on that.
I thought you'd like that.
Anybody else here an echo?
I completely agree. I really like the instrumental part when they start, riffing and freestyling like we talked about. It's just kind of okay. Whoa! Every podcast we do from now on, when I run out of things to say, I'm going to default to whoa.
Oh, well, Delvin, what are you going to rate it?
In my notes, I have this written as a 2.
Ooh.
I'm going to bump it up to a 3 because the instrumental, it is really good. That is in part due to Jack White and Alicia Keys because of that guitar and the piano. So I'm going to raise that up to a 3. I'm not crazy about the song at all with that. Beginning and instrumentals were really good. What do you got, Pat?
I am going to agree with you as well on a 3. This is the first time I've ever heard it. I've never heard the song before. Hearing it during that whole credit sequence is the first time. And I agree. If it was just the instrumental, I would have liked it because it would have been simple and it would have really went well with the credits then.
I agree.
With the credits opening sequence there too, I think. All right, with those ratings of the song out of the way, I'm going to pass it on over back to Jarrod.
All right. Well, we're going to get in this and talk about Jarrod's choice. And boys, it's going to be a rough one tonight. Because Jarrod's choice segment is all about repeat Felixes. There's been 2. You must choose tonight. Your repeat Felixes, and they're 2 of the best Felixes that we've ever seen.
So you're saying Felix isn't going to show up in the other 2 movies? Off
the top of my head, Pat, honestly, I don't think Felix is going to show up in the next 2, but he's slated to be in No Time to Die.
Okay.
And it is Jeffrey Wright again. So Jeffrey Wright will be the first 3.
Repeat.
So you guys know who they are. David Hedison from Live and Let Die, and more importantly, License to Kill. I'll see you in hell. Or Jeffrey Wright with his much more low-key, very suave and sophisticated brother from Langley. They're both good. I'm forcing you to choose tonight. Delvin?
It's a tough one.
Oh my goodness. Jeffrey Wright. And man, that's tough though, because I'm flat out hashtag for the culture here. But also I do enjoy Jeffrey Wright's take on it. And he was most certainly a bright spot in this movie, but man, that was tough because Hedison, that See You in Hell line, that's from a movie I rated a 7, and I'm not going to rate this movie a 7. I'll give you that much. Mm-hmm. So it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in before Pat even gets to respond. I think honestly, Jeffrey Wright is probably a superior actor, but Hedison, he gets that limelight in License to Kill, and he owns it. He's one of the things you remember about it. So anyway, Pat, tough choices have to be made.
Well, Jarrod, I think my answer is going to be whoa. And back to you, Jarrod.
That's what you're going with.
No, I'm going to agree. I like the newer, lighter.
Oh, you're going Jeffrey Wright.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know where my loyalties lie. I can't turn on David.
It's hard. I like him as well, too, but you have to look at it as he's a little more lighthearted for those little more lighthearted Bond era, and this one's a little more grittier. The minute I seen him, I was like, oh, yeah. This guy's cool in here. This is going to be smooth.
Smooth up Felix.
Got that right.
Jason, you might as well weigh in, even though you're not a rookie.
I have to say, I have to go with Jeffrey Wright as well.
Oh, man. I'm the only holdout for David.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with David, and you're absolutely right with License to Kill. He's kind of the central, that's what the plot revolves around, is his character. So, and mad respect to David Hedison, but I'll tell you what I really loved about Jeffrey Wright's character, particularly in this movie, is there are 2 scenes. Mm-hmm. And I love how he plays like he's caught in the middle and he's trying to figure a way out. And twice he's asked a question that he has to be very careful how he answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm tracking.
The first one is, do you know who this is? And they show him.
Yeah.
And what does he say?
Mm-hmm.
He looks at it. He looks directly at the bad guy and goes, sorry. And it's interpreted as, sorry, I can't help you. But what he's actually saying is, sorry, you're screwed.
You're in big trouble.
And then the second time is when he gives the information to Bond and lets Bond know he only has a few seconds to escape, and Bond gets away. Beam asks him, what did you tell him? And what does he say? Only what we talked about. Which is, interpreted by him as only what we agreed to tell him. But he's saying everything we talked about. I told that fool. And I just thought both of those
points, man. I never really thought about it in that light, but I like that.
They had a wonderful back and forth, particularly in that bar where Bond was trying to come at America, basically, and with Felix, and then Felix came back and was like, "Oh, don't act like Britain's innocent in this either. Like, who do you think we learned this from?" It just they had that great back and forth.
Yeah, when he says, you guys will just get in bed with anybody, even you, brother, including you.
Yeah, his deliveries are just really great.
I know we're not discussing this, but I got to stand up for Beam real quick. Yeah, we should only do business with nice people.
Can I go ahead and we'll get into the movie, but since we're already talking about, those two, Beam, he's the guy from Stranger Things, right?
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone was going to pick up on that.
I'm like looking at him like, okay, I know this guy.
Yeah.
And then when he started talking a little bit, I'm like, okay, that's the guy from Stranger Things. So
I watched the movie with the lovely Miranda, and she picked that out immediately because she's a big Stranger Things fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I watched it for this show. It's like, oh, it's the Stranger Things guy.
Yeah, it was this viewing where I noticed it too, which tells me I haven't watched this movie since season 1 of Stranger Things.
Boy, yeah, it's been a minute.
Mm-hmm. At first, I thought it was kind of gonna be like, who are those other two guys? The two bad guys,
Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd.
Yes, I thought it was kind of be like that. He was going to play like one of those kind of a character kind of guy. Would have been interesting to see. I think he could pull something like that off.
All right, let's do highs and lows. Do your thing.
All right, let's just pass it to Delvin. Let's hear your thoughts. Give me a high or a low, Delvin.
We can start from the beginning of the movie. The first interaction with M and Bond. I liked that scene because both of them knew he was lying. When she was asking about how was he, and he went on this whole Vesper meant nothing to me, mumble.
No, right.
Yeah, whatever, James. Both of them knew he was lying in that scene. That's a part of the relationship they have. It's an interesting one that they've set up, and I've enjoyed it.
It's kind of almost a mother-son relationship, it feels like sometimes.
They even joked about that in the movie.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Where he was talking with Camille, and Camille thought he was talking about his mom. He's like, well, no, she thinks that she is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did like that. What about you, Pat? Do you have a high or low you care to share with us?
I don't know if this is a low, but I'll just kind of start there is, I missed Moneypenny. We don't got no Q at all either. So
I'll tell you can look forward to some Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Jason will let you know what he thinks about Q.
I probably should save it for the next movie.
Yeah, save it. But
Jason has thoughts.
I was hoping
I'm down with hipster Q. I'll just put it that way.
I was hoping we'd see Moneypenny, but we didn't.
Gary or
either or, it'd be kind of cool to see a Gary Penny,
We kind of had that in Casino because the guy working in the front office.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Kind of sitting in that seat.
Yeah, you maybe have that with M's helper guy too.
Mm-hmm. The one that didn't betray her.
Yes. Yeah, not Mitch. Was it Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Because they're all like, hey, Mitch, it's Mitch.
Hey, it's Mitch, everyone.
Hey, it's Mitch.
Poker night tomorrow night, Mitch?
Yeah. Bond walks in. He says hi to him right away. Hey, Mitch. Like, hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Definitely not a traitor, buddy.
As Delvin said in that scene, though, too, I like Bond just kind of walks in, pours himself a drink, starts drinking.
He's had a rough day up to that point, man. It was only starting. He didn't realize that. Just getting started. All right. What about you, Delvin? Any other highs or lows?
We are just getting started. That first chase scene, oh, goodness. Bond was after the agent, Mitchell.
Oh, on foot, you mean?
Yeah, that running scene.
He took so many bumps in that scene where it's like, ow, ow, ow. It's good.
But as Pat said, he was already liquored up, so he was feeling no pain.
So he was feeling some pain. He had no choice. I mean, every bump he took just looked like it hurt. And they made mention to how he hadn't been sleeping. They mentioned that a couple of times during the movie, and this was the first time that they mentioned it. So this guy is running off of just pure adrenaline, probably not even fully registering everything that he's putting his body through at that time. And it spoke to the tone of the movie. I'll wait for my next Tylo to talk about what I feel about the tone of the movie.
Okay, fair enough. Pat, jump aboard. What else you got?
I liked some of the little bit tech that was in there when they went to the briefing room or whatever. I liked that digital table, and I was like, oh man, that's really cool.
I want one.
I want one too. I'm like, put that on my Christmas list, man.
Exclusively for smut.
Yes. Oh, you got me.
It'd be funny if him walks in and they got all this digital smut on there. Like, oh crap.
We spent 6 million pounds on it. But look at the clarity.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was pretty cool. You know, I was expecting to see some, cooler, it's the newer age. Let's see some really cool, spy tech and all that.
I'm going to jump in with a little something before that. One of the best things that came out of Quantum of Solace, this movie, was Quantum of Solace, the video game. It's really quite good. It's a fun game to play.
But Quantum of Solace video game, like a lot of it is actually Casino Royale.
Yeah, a lot of it is casino. But where I'm going with this is all the menu screens and stuff that you use in the game are all done in that style, that exact style that you see on the table. So I love the continuity carryover.
Yeah.
That is cool. I also like just like some of the field gadgets, like how he gave just the card to that guy, and as the guy checked the number on the card, he locked in onto his cell phone so he could trace him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we didn't have Q, we still had some pretty cool gadgets in this game.
Yeah.
Bond was like, I spiked him.
That's right. Well, let's keep it moving along then. All right, Pat likes gadgets. Delvin, what do you got?
There's an early line after, can't even remember, Mr. Slate. Bond kills him. M asks about it, and he says he was a dead end. But it's funny that you chuckled, Jarrod, because it wasn't funny. And that kind of, it struck me a little bit. There's something about this movie in particular, and I'm trying to remember at the time, I remember Casino Royale was supposed to be a soft reboot of sorts for Bond, and they're doing the prequel thing, but it was kind of a reboot because they didn't use the old-timey technology from the 60s. They used up-to-date current technology as a part of this reboot. So kind of a reboot retcon / thing. And it's interesting that Daniel Craig, he is so physical, and seeing some of the stunts that he got into were terrific and amazing and violent and all that. But it seemed a conscious choice that they didn't let him really be funny or have any humor or anything. And it's interesting because Roger Moore, I would laugh at some of the action scenes, but sometimes his Bond was charming. Mm-hmm. And same thing with maybe not so much Dalton, but Brosnan certainly, where he had kind of a very good mix of both too. Athletic, full of action, full of the guns, but also charming. This Bond is not charming. Something about him seems a little joyless, and it makes me a little sad. I mean, the movie is called Quantum of Solace. And by the way, I had to look up what quantum meant because I honestly didn't know what the heck that meant. And when I found out that quantum means like the smallest degree, and the smallest degree of solace, okay, it does fit the movie, but the movie was a little joyless. And that first quote that I mentioned about him just saying he was a dead end, that kind of brought it into the forefront.
I concur. I think the only truly charming thing he did all was the stationary line with Miss Fields.
Yeah.
That was like the only kind of fun, flirty thing. And she kind of hated herself afterwards.
That was too easy.
The movie needed that. There were actually a couple of things in that scene that I was really grateful for as far as Bond. He flat out was like, nope, I'm not staying in this hovel. Absolutely not. Like, if you're going to make me freaking prisoner, then I'm going to be prisoner in this nice hotel. So that is very Bondian. And then he absolutely turned on the charm to where, he was kind of like, yep, so we got this nice room, so
we got the night.
That was cool. I was grateful for those moments because that's what we've come to know and love about James Bond. That wasn't womanizing. It was just him being absolutely charming and being the James Bond that we've known at this point for decades.
I kept thinking, whoever fixed him back up after the last movie, they must have really did some really good work.
He was a little tattered at the end of the last movie.
Boy, yes. Certain parts of him were really tattered.
And it's still usable.
Man, you can't stop no 007.
That's the superpower right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his little hand pump as he's getting ready for Miss Fields. All right, so a little bit lacking in humor, I'm hearing from Delvin. Pat, what do you got?
Well, I didn't take a lot of notes down for this movie because I was constantly kind of watching it and just keeping my eyes on it. I found it intriguing. The villain, once you kind of figure out what he was kind of doing and what he was after, it was like, oh, well, I can see how that might be all right. But, you're going to go after the water supply and then,
He was kind of fun. He's funny when he got to fighting, though.
Hey, yeah. I give him credit. He didn't. It was
a long play.
Fight. He went after Bond.
Yeah.
He had no skill, but his ferocity.
Oh yeah. You can hear it in when he hit him too.
It's like when you're a grown man and you have to calm down like a flailing 8-year-old. It's still quite dangerous. You're like,
when I was looking up for my Bonds, I didn't put it in there, but I thought it was kind of interesting because I'm going to butcher his name, Matteo Amalric, the guy who played Dominic Green. Mm-hmm. He said, he went to the director and said, hey, man, can I get like a bleeding eye or a scar or something cool to make me menacing? Director said, no, man, you've got to work with what you got, basically. Use those crazy eyes, do whatever you got to do. And so when it got to the time when he had to fight Bond, he said, he made the choice. It's like, I'm a guy that doesn't really have any skills, but I'm just going to be like it was when I was like in middle school and you get in that fight and you're just all rage and, like you said, flailing arms. Mm-hmm. So he made that choice to do that. I thought it actually played pretty well.
It did. It was between.
He's a more brainy kind of guy.
Between that and Camille's fight, both of those fights, even though Camille's fight was much more personal, both of those fights were very intense. Very.
Yeah, very visceral.
Yes.
Pat, I know you got more.
No, I really don't.
Whoa.
But I'll tell you this, Jason. I got people everywhere.
Lots of people say that.
Nobody actually answers.
Florists say that.
That was a good line.
See, now all the actually are coming back to me. Now let's do that. I think I could do better. Oh, all right, Delvin, any last pressing thoughts?
I have a couple, actually.
All right, let's hear them.
57 minutes into the movie, I was watching, and I, of course, stopped and noted, and I was like, I'll read the note. TF, does this have to do with Spectre? There was, at some point in the movie, they were talking about Bond and his feelings, like it was Dawson's Creek and stuff. And the opening scene of this movie, Casino Royale ended, he gunned down Mr. White and it's like, all right, you're giving me this lead on this Spectre thing. And they're like, we're after Spectre. And about halfway through the movie, it was an hour, 46-minute movie. So halfway through the movie, it kind of lost its way. I didn't even know exactly what this had to do with Spectre as opposed to just this bad guy and this one piece of a puzzle. If the idea is to show that Spectre is a huge worldwide terrorist organization, and this is an example of their reach, sure. But that really didn't seem to me what Bond was after. It was, we have this entity that has taken over even parts of MI6, and this is a huge threat. How are we going to solve this? And halfway through the movie, it didn't really seem like they had done anything to solve it. They were doing stuff to stop this bad guy. They were dealing with James Bond's feelings, but they weren't really dealing with Spectre as a whole.
Did they actually mention Spectre in this film?
They didn't name any name.
No.
Because in this one they called it Quantum.
And I think if I remember correctly, there was still some arguments over the legal arguments to the rights of Spectre. So a bit of Bond history. So Quantum of Solace is the actual title of the James Bond short story.
I'm sure Joseph Iliff has things to say.
Yes, and I'll let Joseph cover it in more detail. But I think what they did was they wanted to have a Spectre-like entity, but they couldn't legally call it Spectre. So they used the Quantum piece as a surrogate. And so they're laying the seeds for Spectre. And then this Dominic Green character is a member of Spectre, and they're just now starting to infiltrate the organization, and they stop his particular plot, but you're going to see more of Spectre in the later films.
Okay.
Probably the one called
Spectre.
Spectre, yes.
Okay. All right. Thankfully, there are a few tricks that this rookie agent could still learn, because I did not know that there were still legal issues going on with using the name Spectre at that point.
I hear you on your point, though, Delvin, because at the end of Casino, when he shoots him, and it's like Bond, James Bond, and ba-da-ba-da, I had that feeling, too. I was like, we've gotten back to Spectre.
Right.
Yeah, we came into this movie, and it's like, Quantum? What happened to Spectre?
But I kind of like that, though, because they're playing this bigger game out, though, and keeping them a secret. And where are they all infiltrated in? Even when he goes to get that one guy at the end, are you with the Canadian, whatever? You better go check yourselves, because you guys got a leak. And you already know something was going on in the American side already, too.
That's a good point, Pat.
So I like that there's something out there, and it's how deep are they embedded in these different areas?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about the dynamic between M and Bond. To me, they overplayed the dynamic of M. I don't know if I can trust you, Bond.
You sure do let him do a lot of stuff.
No, I think she uses that, though, to push him forward.
Well, she uses it to further her agenda, I guess, but it was a plot point that they used. And it was a little bit overdrawn, because even though M is a spectacular character and not going to besmirch the Dame.
No, never.
Never. But what I kind of just started rolling my eyes about was just that trust factor, and her basically like, oh, I don't know if I can trust you. Even though you have a license to kill, do you have to kill everybody? He has a license to kill. So if you trust him and you have him out in the field, you got to kind of trust the dude to do what he has to do. If you really thought that he was that bloodthirsty, you would rein him in. You wouldn't send Agent Fields after him. You would send a whole freaking team after him, bring him in immediately. But you didn't.
She knows what she was doing.
She knew what she was doing. And so the back and forth got a little bit, I don't know, overdrawn to me. That said, that scene in the elevator was Captain America-esque.
Yes, it was.
That was really good. But again,
America.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. But I think this also goes back to Jarrod's original point with the Bourne movies, where it's like, what's Bourne doing? Can we trust him? We need to stop him. All that tension and drama. I think they tried to incorporate that into the story. And I agree with you, Delvin. I don't think it works, at least not fully.
I didn't think it was a backfire, but I just think that it was very obvious that a woman as powerful as M is not going to tolerate insubordination. She's not. And so she put Bond out in the field, and she trusts him enough to get the job done and know that that's the agenda that he's advancing. If she had any doubts about that, he wouldn't be out in the field.
No, fair point. Fair point.
That's right.
I'm just going to push one question because we haven't touched on it, and I kind of wanted to. What are your thoughts about the return of Renee Mathis? Did you guys like that? Were you surprised to see him again? What were your thoughts?
My thoughts on that is I liked it. Again, I like this kind of story building between the first Casino and this one. So to see some returning characters like him and Leiter again was really cool. How he tried to redeem himself a little bit in Bond's eyes. And Bond actually knew that he could trust him as well too. When he's going rogue, he only got to find some people that he can trust. So I really like that. I was kind of sad to see him die.
I was really sad to see him die. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, I really liked it. Jarrod, what's your thoughts?
I got to jump in here because
I was kind of keying you up for this anyway.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Jason knows this is actually one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise. I don't know if I got a dark side or whatever it is, but I like it when we get to see the downside of being a secret agent, which happens so rarely. It's so glamorous. Bond rarely gets shot. Bond is always getting the girls. He's in the dinghy life raft at the end with the beautiful Japanese chick in like 80% of these movies. What I like is when we see the downside. We saw it in Die Another Day when he got captured and tortured with the Scorpions. And in this one, we get to see this trusted friend get killed almost senselessly, and then basically Bond takes his money and puts him in a dumpster. And it's so grisly and shocking, but Bond's like, this is the life. It just smacks you in the face. It takes you out of that Roger Moore space and goes, man, sometimes the secret agent stuff ain't all it's cracked up to be. And I thought it was powerful as all get out. I thought the actor killed that scene, no pun intended. I adore that scene, as dark as it is. I think it is a special moment in Bond history.
It was touching, Jarrod. When you saw it, you knew there was going to be some setup. When even Bond's asking himself, why would they want me to open the trunk? Oh, no. And just speaking overall, Felix Leiter's lucky, because a lot of times recurring characters in movies like this, they only come back if they're going to die. I thought that Mathis might die, and sure enough, when he took 2 bullets to the back, and was like, oh no. But he went out, man. The dumpster scene, of course, was grisly, and you're right. Bond said it, and it was very well said. It's like, he wouldn't have minded me doing this because he knows the life.
Yeah.
But Mathis, basically, when he's dying and he just asked Bond, like, don't leave me or please stay with me. It's like,
I know.
Yeah.
And then he picks him up and here, let me help you.
Yeah, like, oh God.
Better. Yeah.
It was well done.
That was good.
Yeah. Forgive her. Forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do want to say, as Jarrod mentioned with Bond, is I think these are a little more grittier, and Craig is really beat up, and you see a lot of scars and a lot of, during the action and all that, he gets really scarred up. And I haven't really seen that a lot with the other Bonds.
No. Like the other Bonds is just that immediate. If you think about it, I think, did they have the scene? I'm probably thinking a different movie, because I know I've seen Craig so much, where he's doing some down and dirty, grimy thing, and then he's like jumping onto a train or something, and he kind of gets up and like straightens up his cufflinks.
Yeah, that's the next movie. That's the next movie.
I haven't seen that yet in the movie, but that scene encapsulates what Pat's saying. They're kind of playing back to what Bond is, but like this Bond is grimy. He is. He is down and dirty and getting into it, and that's very much more Dalton than.
I can read Jared's mind right now. He's like, Timothy Dalton was grimy at the end of the License to Kill. He did it first.
Very, very much Timothy Dalton is what I feel that Craig is channeling more than anything else, because he's definitely down and dirty.
Yeah. I think you can see the changing of production and what they will allow on the screen now. You know what I mean? When before, those earlier, they had to keep it at a certain rating, and as people want to always push that envelope of the ratings, how bloody can we get him? How, cut up, things like that. So you can definitely see the changing of that throughout the films.
Definitely getting more in vogue to have a beat up hero, bloody, like you said.
Realistic.
I mean, look at John Wick. They live to brutalize that poor guy.
They do. They really do. Well, I think we've talked about this one all around the bend. Great conversation, fellas. I think the only thing really to do is to pass these reins over to Pat and let him do his thing.
Well, Jason, let's go ahead and get into 00 Player. Really, there was just one player that I counted, and that was Fields. I don't think he didn't really get with Camille at all, but there was trying to, but I think that was it.
It was all business.
Yeah.
And,
maybe he's still a little recovering from.
Yeah, I think he's still getting over it.
Just the one.
Just the one.
Back to you, Jarrod.
Well done, agents. Now let's go ahead and have our veteran co-host, Mr. Agent Weasel Skull, weigh in on this one. Jason, what you got? You got Bond bombs for us?
Yeah, I've got 3 Bond bombs. The first one we kind of already talked about a little bit, but I'll expound on it somewhat. Jeffrey Wright's return role marked the first time the same actor played Felix Leiter in back-to-back roles, and it's only the second time the same actor played Leiter twice. The other, of course, was David Hedison, and we've already talked about that. Fact number 2, that this is the first time since You Only Live Twice that the line, "My name is Bond, James Bond," is not used in the movie. And at 1 hour and 46 minutes, this is the shortest of the Eon production Bond films.
I thought it was a fast watch.
When I looked, because I had to pause it at one point to take notes and saw it's just an hour 46, I'm like, good grief. Sure.
And I read somewhere, too, because this one was butting up against a writer's strike. So they ended up having to rush this one through. And that's part of the reason why it's made kind of as a sequel to Casino Royale, or chapter 2, if you will.
The airplane fight was cool, and I really like the ending. Those are two things we didn't get to talk about. I like the airplane fight, and I thought the ending was well done and powerful.
The airplane fight was pretty good. I've forgotten how good that was. I really enjoyed it with this rewatch.
Not so bad. Well, now that Jason has exposed his trivia nuggets to everyone,
tuck these bad boys away.
Tuck those nuggets away. And Jason, get out the shaker, get out the glasses. Let's find out what these ratings are going to be.
All right. I have 7 martini glasses for each of you. How many martinis are we going to give for this film? And as a reminder, if it's your first time listening to the show, 7 martinis means you loved it. It shook your martini. 6, which I believe is the amount of martinis that Bond had on that plane, means that it was excellent. 5 is very good. 4 martinis is good. 3 is just okay. 2 is not so good. And 1 means you hated it. It stirred your martini. So we'll start it with Delvin. Delvin, how many martinis will you give Quantum of Solace?
So in a movie that was supposed to continue uncovering Spectre, it did. And it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, little hit, little miss. I guess we get that Spectre has reach everywhere, but in a sense, the trail went cold kind of at the end of the movie, and the story wound up being a little bit confusing and a little bit disjointed to me. So I didn't think it was a bad watch, though. I didn't. And for an hour 46, that's not even enough time to get bored unless it was just really bad, which it was not. I give it a 5 out of 7.
All right. Very good. All right, Pat, your turn. How many martinis?
Well, we rate these on enjoyability, and I enjoyed watching this movie. I enjoyed watching Craig in Casino Royale too, so having that continuation of the story happening again, right where we left off, was very good. So I am also going to give it a 5. Kind of, if musical genius Joe November was here, I would probably bump it up closer, another half point and go between very good and excellent, because I'm kind of liking Craig.
Wow.
I'm not going to lie, boys. I kind of like Craig.
You ain't got to lie.
I ain't got to lie. I like the Craig.
Interesting. That's what makes this whole rookie agent thing fun, man. They got pretty decent scores here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'd say they liked it a little bit better than you and I did, Jarrod.
Why was the movie so low rated? Just in general, you guys gave your personal experience to it, but why was it so low rated with the Bondverse?
I think Jarrod touched on it. He's right. Whenever Bond tries to mimic another franchise, it loses something. And I think that this film suffers from that. And I also think that the writer's strike kind of hurt it. I think it was going to go in a more coherent direction. It'd be more of a fleshed out film, but they ran out of time for the writers to finish before the strike occurred. So I think that is part of what you're assessing or you're feeling, Delvin, as far as the disjointedness of the Quantum/Spectre storyline. So I think it's really those two things that kind of weigh this one down a little bit. Jarrod, do you have any other thoughts?
No, that, and I think a lot of people are in my camp on the shaky cam, hard to follow action scenes. I still don't know exactly how that boat scene ended. Boats driving, hooked something, boat.
He hooked something that I can't figure out what happened.
I think a lot of people have problems with that. And yeah, just its rushed nature. And it probably, even though I'm not the biggest Casino fan, which is like, ooh, in the James Bond community, but a lot of people loved it. And they followed up with something that didn't meet expectations. I could understand.
Was it Van who mentioned it? Somebody mentioned it before. It's like if you watch this film like right after Casino, it's almost better if you watch Casino and this film.
Yeah, which we've kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
We've watched them close together.
Yeah, I've mentioned it. I thought it was much better on my second view.
Yeah, I thought it was better this time around too, probably because I did watch them so close together. And that might have played into it too, Delvin. People loved Casino, and then you had to wait. Was a 2-year, I think, only a 2-year jump on this one.
It was.
But you got to imagine you're like waiting. You're like, okay, let's go get that casino feeling. And then you're like shaky cam, and the story didn't. You know what we never even mentioned was the opera scene. That's a really good scene.
Yeah, we never mentioned the opera scene.
The opera scene was really good.
Well, and I think too, and this is just my personally, because when I watch Casino, and you watch it from beginning to end, when I saw the end of Casino with him standing there looking baller in his suit with his MP5 or whatever it was that he had in his hand and doing that James Bond line, I was like, okay, now we got the Bond and we're going to take off and kick ass. And then when you came back to Quantum of Solace, it was back to, I don't know if I can trust you. You haven't slept. And it's like, I thought we'd gotten past that. I thought,
yeah,
so for me, it kind of started off with leaving kind of a funny taste in my mouth.
Good point, Jason. I concur with that. Well, thank you, gentlemen. And now it's time to crown this episode's 00 award winner. Pat and Delvin will do this by answering a series of trivia questions on Quantum of Solace. Delvin is our current champion. He will go first. Well, actually, he'll get to choose if he wants to go first. Anyway, we'll get to that. But before we do that, let's take a quick break to thank our Patreon sponsors. I will hand it over to Mr. Van Allen Plexico, our network founder, for that.
Let him out of the trunk.
Open up, Van. Get out.
We have patrons everywhere. All right.
White Rocket Entertainment.
We have to pause for just a second here to thank the fine folks who keep shows like this from White Rocket Entertainment on the air. For as little as $1 a month, you can join their ranks and keep our programs coming. That includes all of the shows that White Rocket produces. Our great patrons as of now include Matthew Flowers, Carl Von Drunker, Samuel Salvatore, and Christopher Burleson, along with Phil Amthor, Ben Spooner, William Glenn Matthews, Gary Grant, Wynn Carroll, Brian Gray, Winston Body, Willie Carden, Tom Anderson, Susan Trawick, Logan Chilton, Stephen Thompson, Chris Usher, Justin Bean, Steve Trawick, and Richard Stevens. And then there's Christopher Stewart, Clinton Stewart, Nikki B., William Morgan, Phil Davis, Joshua Corbett, John Otsuki, Preston Settle, Daniel Odom, Hey You Falling Up, Alchemist, Kevin Smith, Clarence Alford, Will Summerford, David Hegler, Johnny Caldwell, Theodore Gary, Reynolds Wolfe, Joel Beckham, Valiant Hermes, Jacob and Robin Fleming, Clay Henson, Ann Kangian, Catherine England, George Gaston, John McCune, David Evers, Andrew Barber, Timothy, Steve Harlan, Dan Thompson, Wes Atkinson, Rich Reimer, Jarrod Alberich, Blake Heron, Stephen Houston, Cato the Barner, Danny Flack, Papa Todd, Russell Milling, Kevin Kenoy, Don Zederman, Ross, Lane Middleton, Shannon Butson, Randall Walker, Hugh Anderson, Shane Bailey, Mick Vizicana, Chris Thrash, Tony Perry, Alex Wynn, Josh Teal. And then there's David Simpson, Earl Ricks, Mike Finley, C.T. Wayne, Jeremy Minton, Ward Amwade, Spanky, J.W. Rice, Jason Albrick, Kevin Mahan, Stephen Wyatt, Trevor Johnson, Auburn Elvis, Robert Drain, Brandon Smith, Royce Alvarez, Thomas Brinson, David Smiley, Matthew Wagstaff, Donnie Reynolds, Wade Carson, Ivor Evans, John Zavachin, Michael Morton, Lawrence Kane, Darren Pyle, Chris Camo, Ben Amos, Ruth and Darren Sutherland, Patrick Williams, Rob Morgan, Stephen Schuster, James Taylor, John Stubbs, Kenneth Brent Raines, Nicholas Craig, Joseph A. Miller, Mark Squire, plus Chris. There's Brant Rumble, the great Surfer Chickify, and our one-time and anonymous donors. We thank you all, and for as little as $1 a month, you can join their ranks. Just go to www.plexico.net, plexico.net, or the Podbean page at secretpodcast.podbean.com.
Awesome stuff there. Now, if you'd like to help us find the stationery, you too can help sponsor the show over at patreon.com. Just search keyword Plexico, Plexico. You can give as little as $1 a month to help keep Agent Jason's travel expense account active. And like those other folks whose names you just heard, you'll get a shout out on every episode of all White Rocket Entertainment shows, including this one. As a Patreon, you'll get bonus material, behind the scenes information on all White Rocket endeavors, including our novels, comic books, and more. Jason.
Okay, let's find out who this mission's Trivia 00 award winner is going to be so he can lord it over the other guy until the next episode. Agent Jarrod and I have each prepared 3 questions for a total of 6. We'll take turns asking each of the contestants a question. You get it right, and that's 1 point. You get it wrong, your opponent has an opportunity for a steal. Most points get you the coveted 00 award, a ticket to the Brigands Opera, and a bottle of Bolivian water with a pack of peppers. While supplies last, not available in all areas. let's start the segment we like to call Agents Under Fire.
Well, I understand double O's have a very short life expectancy.
Okay, Delvin, you're the reigning champion. Do you want to go first or second?
Second.
Pat, who's reading?
I'm going to go with Jarrod.
All right, so first Pat, then Delvin. I'm reading for Pat, so let's get going. Pat, here's your easy round question. Man, you're off to a good start here, Pat. During the opening car chase, where is Mr. White?
Well, he's in the trunk, Jarrod.
That is correct.
That is incorrect. It is the boot. This is British. We all know that. I'm teasing.
First place, they'll look. Living Daylights reference for you there.
All right, Delvin. What Bolivian resource is Mr. Green truly interested in controlling?
Water.
Oh.
Correct.
The water supply.
Back to you, Pat. Medium round. After Bond leaves London at the beginning, he goes to intercept Mr. Slate. What country does he head to?
Uh-oh.
Pat's weakest area is the locations.
Yep. Oh, man. Where did he go?
Where did he go now? Where did he go?
Italy.
Oh, opportunity for a steal.
Oh, that's
Haiti.
Oh.
I hate it for you, Pat. He's right.
So, Delvin, for a solid lead, what is the name of Dominic Green's legitimate business front? I had trouble with this one, too.
It's the only one Jason missed when I sent him the list.
Geez, I'm going to have to say the only thing I wrote down, and that's the Tierra Project.
Don't remember that at all.
Pat, you got a chance for a steal, my friend.
Is it Eco Green?
Oh, Pat, you could have got back into the mix, man. You could have, but you didn't.
It's Green Planet.
We're close. So close. All right, Pat, let's go into the hard round. Bond kills Mr. Slate and takes over his identity. Aside from being paid to kill Camille, what is Slate's profession?
Pastor on a blank slate.
A hitman.
Well, I said aside from being paid to kill Camille, what's his profession?
He's a hitman when he's not being a hitman.
Yeah, exactly.
You should watch out. Yeah,
watch out for it. Has he got the double hitman?
Delvin's ready to sew this up. I can see it in his eyes.
Has Pat officially surrendered?
I said he's a hitman.
The hell out of here with that. Delvin.
Geologist.
Geologist is correct. You sewed up a win. And that's funny. His name is Mr. Slate, and he's a geologist, you know.
It was a bit rocky, but we got
chipped away at it.
something igneous.
All right. So this one is just for bragging. What country does the opera scene take place in?
Pat's locations are Delvin's transportations.
Mm-hmm. They all look out of the United States to me.
Austria.
Very good.
Very good. All right, Pat, for a 4-point bonus to beat Delvin, what is by far the best Bond location?
The best Bond location.
That's easy.
Jason knows. I just feel like Pat's itching to say this answer.
Oh, now I know.
Czechoslovakia.
That's correct. That's it.
All right, with the 4 phantom points, that means you win, Pat.
It's about time.
Congratulations to Delvin. Be sure to do the right proper thing to lord this victory over Pat until you meet again in the field next episode. There's only 2 more fields to meet in.
Ooh.
You earned it. You keep it, old buddy.
Oof. Now for our final segment of the show entitled Return Fire. During Return Fire, our rookie agents Pat and Delvin get to toss Jason and I a trivia question they brought with them in an attempt to stump the 00 experts. It's not looking good for me and Jason. We have
Hold on, I'm going to go get my notebook. I wrote some stuff down this time.
Well, let's get going with Return Fire.
This never happened to the other fella.
Let's start with Pat so he can feel victorious in something. You get to go first tonight. What trivia question do you have for the Alberich brothers tonight?
All right, Jarrod. Mine's going to be pretty simple. What was the license plate number of Bond's vehicle in the beginning?
Jason's got it.
17. I can't remember if it was 3 or 2.
Well, that's going to cost you.
173 GH3LD.
Okay, then my guess is 172
GH3LD.
GH3LD. Which one of us is right?
It's 7-2.
There we go.
Woo! Winners!
You know how long it took me to write that number down the way that...
It is hard. It's going so fast.
I was like stopping it. I was trying to stop it. It's like, what is that? I know Pat's going to ask me this question. And I fought with it all the way. And then at the very end, he just drives slowly into that thing. I was like, there it is.
There it is. Delvin, softball us.
It might be because I don't have many trivia questions that I wrote down. Who was the name of the agent who betrayed Bond in M, the MI6 agent? What was his name?
Greg Mitchell.
Mitchell. Wasn't it Mitchell?
It is Mitchell.
Mitchell. We're champions, Jason, on a movie we suck at. Thanks for giving us softballs, fellas. Yeah,
I feel better after that stunning defeat that I had. And what makes you say that?
Jason beats himself up so hard on these. He's done like 20 movies perfect, and he's like, I missed this one.
Oh, I knew this one was going to cost me.
The ones you don't get that you remember. You don't remember the free throws you made.
I know, yeah. Nicely done, guys. Agent Jarrod, what do we have in the Eyes Only mailbag this week?
Why, thank you, Jason.
What, no small talk? No chit-chat?
Now, as a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to be part of the show, you can send us your questions, comments, and trivia challenges to ohmspod@outlook.com. And you know what? If you've been sitting on the fence thinking about this, you got 2 movies left, people. So get those trivia challenges sent our way. Send your comments, and we'll put them on the show. Please send us an audio recording. And again, that's ohmspod@outlook.com. We'd like to keep them under 5 minutes because we've been getting more and more, which has been making that part of the show lengthy. If you did it like 3 minutes or less, we'd love you even more. But that's what we're going for. Also, if you're an iTunes listener, we'd really appreciate it if you left a review for the show. It means a lot to us. We like to hear from you. We like the feedback. It will help us in the search engine. It'll help find more of the Bond community to come to the show. Please give us a rating. We prefer a 5-star. We love the actual written comments. We'll read them on the show when we get them. Even if you don't like our show, but you like Van and Ellen's show, then write a positive one for them, and then just, give us a pass, whatever. We just want some feedback from you guys, and we really appreciate it.
We've done 22 shows for you guys. Give us some feedback.
We've made a-holes out of ourselves 22 times. Okay, well, let's get to our regular feedback segments, and we've got a few of them tonight. We'll kick off tonight's mailbag with Agent I. We got to know more about this. Agent I.
Hello, rookie agents. This is Agent I with the Fleming Connection for the 2008 James Bond film Quantum of Solace. The title of the movie comes from a short story Fleming wrote in the For Your Eyes Only collection. The short story Quantum of Solace is the Bond story most different from everything else written for Bond by Fleming or any other author. Bond is in the Bahamas, having just completed a mission, and is attending a dinner party held by the governor. He finds some of the other dinner guests, a married couple in particular, to be rather dull, and mentions to the governor that if he ever marries, he would marry an air hostess. After the party is over, the governor tells Bond a story about a civil servant who did exactly that, marry an air hostess. The marriage goes bad with affairs and neglect and psychological abuse, with the husband being particularly cruel to the wife. After the couple divorces, the husband never really recovers, but the wife rebuilds her life and marries a wealthy Canadian man. And Bond realizes that they were the couple attending the party that night. The short story is Fleming stepping out of his typical mode with almost no action or plot, but it is an interesting read. You can follow me on Twitter for more Bond knowledge at SeekOutWisdom. This is Agent I, signing out.
There you have it. Who's got thoughts?
I like that story. I wouldn't mind also finding me an heir to the hostess as well, too. I think there's a lot of fruit pies and
no air hostess, like a stewardess,
like a light hostess.
I was thinking along your lines.
Yeah. Very good, very good. I can't wait to start to read those books.
Creamy feeling.
I have read the short story, and that when the guy finds out that his wife's cheating on him, like he becomes the bitterest, the psychological stuff, and the whole point of it is he couldn't get just a quantum of solace. He couldn't get just a little bit of peace, bit of peace, and he takes it out on her. It's about as dark as this movie. Good one, Agent I. A lot of people don't gravitate towards a quantum of solace, and he was able to put that in a nutshell in about less than 2 minutes. So impressive.
Yeah.
Who's in the mood to go to South Africa?
Hello Rookie Agents, Agent R here once again, this time with my thoughts on Quantum of Solace. The 2 years between Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace were certainly a time of great excitement amongst Bond fans. After the extraordinary success of Casino Royale, Bond was suddenly a character in a series of films that the general public was really interested in once again. Daniel Craig's performance had gone down really well with audiences and critics, and as Bond fans it was really exciting being part of that whole atmosphere of anticipation for the next 007 movie. And all the stills that were coming out, all the clips and trailers looked great. As soon as it came out, I went to see it with a few friends who weren't really Bond fans, but they were excited to see it as well. And when the film was over, it kind of felt like a bit of an anticlimax to the excitement that had been building up over the last year or two. My friends certainly weren't impressed with the film, and I think for a while I was in a little bit of denial. I was like, no, it must have been a great Bond film. It was Daniel Craig, sequel to Casino Royale. How could it not be great? And I think it took me another couple of viewings in the cinema to kind of really digest the film. And in the end, I didn't really feel like it was a great Bond film. I thought it was a decent film, but it kind of just felt like an extended ending to Casino Royale. I didn't feel like the plot of the film itself was very memorable. I didn't feel like the characters were anywhere near as memorable as those that had gone before in Casino Royale. Daniel Craig was still great, of course, and it was a film certainly built around a lot of action scenes. But like many Bond fans, I wasn't a fan of the shaky cinematography and really rapid editing. The exception to that being the opening car chase scene. I do really enjoy that sequence. But from then on, the action scenes, they get a bit confusing, and they really feel like they're trying to keep up with The Bourne Ultimatum, which had come out the year before. But the film was a direct sequel to Casino Royale, and it tied up a few loose ends from that film, which, to be honest, I didn't think really needed to be tied up. I certainly didn't like the idea that Mathis was killed off. And I didn't know it at the time, but unfortunately this was to be the last appearance of David Arnold as composer for the Bond series, to date anyway. I think he made a huge contribution to the 5 films that he worked on. I only hope the producers have the good sense to bring him back again in the future. And in the end, it was difficult to know where to place Quantum of Solace. It wasn't a top-ranking Bond film, which certainly was a disappointment after the extraordinary brilliance of Casino Royale. But nonetheless, I was still very excited to see where the series would go next. And I'm looking forward to returning with my thoughts on Skyfall. So until then, goodbye for now.
Well, Agent R pretty much put it in a wrapper of everything we talked about. The one thing he pointed out that we didn't touch on is, this is David Arnold's last musical score. We will not hear from him again for a while, because I know they already named the composer for No Time to Die. I don't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but I know it's not David Arnold.
What do you feel about the score?
I still think that Casinos is stronger, but this one's not bad at all. That's my quick impression. Jason's nodding his head. I think he's feeling the same.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Let's see. We only got a couple more left. Let's get with Agent Voice over in Texas and see his musical trivia for tonight. And I haven't listened to this one yet, so I'm playing the game with you guys.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, y'all. This is your man in Station TX, Royce, in lovely San Antonio, Texas. It's about that time again. It's time for What Made You Sing That? What is the line that precedes the following in Another Way to Die by Jack White and Alicia Keys? I'm going to try to keep this one simple because, to be honest with you, I still have no idea what they're saying in this song. So good luck on this one. Anyway, the line is, a man on your side. One more time, a man on your side. All right, do you have it?
That's the question from Agent Voice over in Texas, and it is what comes before it. And I think I know this one simply because this song is on Guitar Hero, and I've played it many, many, many times.
The song actually made it on Guitar Hero?
Yeah, it's fun to play too with all the guitar riff. I'm pretty sure I know it, but anybody else want to play? I don't want to.
No, dude, go for it.
Go for it.
I think it's a phone on the table is the lyric before it. So if anybody else has any other votes, then I'll play the answer.
A phone on the table, a man on your side.
Yeah,
someone that you think you trust. It's just another way to die.
I like that lyric though. Someone you think that you can trust is just another way to die in this game. Don't trust the wrong person.
Don't trust anybody.
Was that Alicia Keys singing?
Yeah,
it was them harmonizing, like her harmonizing is the best.
No, just before. I thought I heard somebody singing.
Oh, that was Jason.
That was MJ posted it.
Possibly Dale Arden. All right, let's get this answer.
The answer to what precedes a man on your side is a phone on the table. Once again, a phone on the table. The entire chorus is a door left open, a woman walking by, a drop in the water, a look in the eye, a phone on the table, a man on your side, someone that you think that you can trust is just another way to die. All right, hope y'all got that one, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Nice. That's fun. I like that he's carved a niche out for that. That's a fun little. Well, it's fun because I got it right.
Yes.
Are we all having fun?
It's really frustrating when we get it wrong.
Welcome to my world when you get it wrong.
Two more guys. We got Agent Z. You know he's a classic, and we've got the junior agent. So I'm just going to do these in the order in which they're on my phone. Let's go to the Netherlands.
Hello, Rookie Agents. This is Don Zuiderman calling in from the Netherlands for your podcast on Quantum of Solace. The topic for my contribution are the James Bond locations. Typically, in Quantum, Bond travels all over the world. He starts out at Le Garda in Italy, going to Siena, also in Italy. Then he returns to the UK to have his briefing. And then Bond flies to Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, where he meets Camille for the first time. And then he's back in Bregenz, Austria, for the opera, where he exposes Quantum. He then meets Mathis in his villa in Talamone, again in Italy, before he flies over the Atlantic once more to La Paz, the capital of Bolivia. And then in the final scene, Bond confronts Vesper's ex-boyfriend in Kazan, somewhere in the middle of Russia. All in all, Bond gets around in this film. Now, looking at all the James Bond films, you could divide them into two groups. Globetrotting versus one or a maximum of two solid locations. For instance, in Dr. No, you have Jamaica. In Thunderball, you have the Bahamas. And in You Only Live Twice, you have Japan. Whereas in Die Another Day, for instance, you have North Korea, Hong Kong, Cuba, the UK, and Iceland. And then in The Living Daylights, he goes to Gibraltar, Vienna, Morocco, Afghanistan, Pakistan. And in Moonraker, you have Africa, the US, Venice, Rio, the Amazon, and outer space even. So, my questions for you are: 1. What are some of your favorite James Bond locations? 2. Were you lucky enough to have actually visited a few? 3. Where would you still love to go? And 4. Do you have a preference? Globetrotting versus one or two locations per film? Now, I know that actual filming locations quite often differ from locations being portrayed in the film, but I don't want to go into details too much. Okay, good luck, gentlemen. This is Don Zuiderman, signing out.
All right, let's start with last question first. Jet set versus more focused in one or two locations. Jason.
Jet set.
Pat.
So what was the question?
Delvin.
I would rather have one location.
Pat.
Jet set.
Okay, I'm a one location guy, so
we're split.
We're split. Anybody here? It's giving me the absolute opportunity to run off at the mouth. I've been to a lot of these locations. Delvin, I know you've been to Vegas.
I have been to Vegas, yes.
Any other locations you're fond of from and Paris? You've been to the Eiffel Tower, just like
I've been to Paris.
You didn't jump off it.
I've been to Kentucky.
There you go, Goldfinger.
Been to Afghanistan.
True enough. Not as glamorous as one.
No,
didn't look like that. No, did it?
Vegas.
Pat's been to Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to Vegas.
Got to go to Vegas.
I know.
I've been to Vegas, but I'll jump in. One of my favorites that I went to was at the Arecibo satellite dish in Puerto Rico, because that's where the climax of GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. I really liked being there. I've been to a ton of them, to be honest with you, though. Jamaica, Bahamas.
I've been to both of those.
Jason, I've been all over Europe to various places that Bond's been to because, growing up there. So I don't want to run off the mouth. I'll just stick with my favorite, which is the Arecibo, I think, is one of my favorite feathers in my 007 cap. Jason, 007 cap feather?
Well, I was going to say the Ice Bay in Iceland where they filmed the A View to a Kill.
Right.
Opener, but that was actually supposed to be Russia. So I think that's against the rules.
I give it to you. It's a filming location.
To me, that place was just magnificent. I mean,
That's
it's
cool.
Stunningly beautiful.
Awesome. Good question, Agent Z. Pat, we got to get you to more locations. We got to get you to learn the locations in the movies while we watch them.
We all need to go to the Her Majesty's Secret Service up to the...
Yeah, Peace Gloria is high on my list.
Oh, heck yeah.
We all need to do that.
We're going to do a Peace Gloria trip, the four of us. We're going to do a Sanchez's mansion down in Acapulco trip, just four of us. It's going to be awesome.
Pat, check our bank account. What do we got?
Yeah.
$75.
We got,
Any day now.
It's coming.
All right. Oh, I lied. We actually have two more, but I'll get to that. Junior agents. Let's find out how our rusty agents are doing.
Good evening, agents. This is Rick from the Junior Mission Control Center, also known as Jeff and Rick Presents. I am providing this week's field report on the film Quantum of Solace from the junior agents stationed in the Pacific Northwest. As usual, I surprised my fellow junior agent Jeff during the recording of our regular podcast, unpacking the power of Power Pack, with a pop quiz in the middle of our script. His answers are not prepared.
Back in the story, the kids are heading out the door for swimming lessons.
Insert slam.
Leaving the parents alone in their bathroom. And Jim wants to wrestle, hint, hint, kind of in quiet and peace, in solace, maybe just a quantum of it. Pop quiz, hotshot.
Yeah.
The Quantum of Solace is the second Bond film to star Daniel Craig, and is seen by many to be one of the least liked of the franchise.
Yeah.
This critical feeling is because this movie focuses more on quick cuts, straight action, and very little characterization. Even so, the film delivers on action-packed thrill rides and a continuation of the story which began in Casino Royale. Personally, I kind of liked it, but I do recognize that it is not a very Bond film. But all of that has nothing to do with what I want to ask you about. So, Mr. Rusty Agent, the title of this film is very unique, especially since it starts with the letter Q, and yet never features anyone from the Q branch. Can you name for me 5 other movies that start with the letter Q?
I'm going to get shot at the end of this one. I know that much. 5 movies that start with the letter Q.
Yes.
Hold on. I need to check my phone for something real quick. Quantum of Solace 2.
Beep.
Quiet Place?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that there... Oh, in fact, Lance Henriksen was in this. It was a Quetzalcoatl. No, it's actually Q, which on the back it then says Q stands for Quetzalcoatl, but the only letter you'll get out is Q before you die, or something like that. And yeah, Lance Henriksen's in that, I'm pretty sure. So there's 2.
Editor's note, the movie Jeff is talking about does not feature Lance Henriksen and is called Q, the Winged Serpent, but I give it to him.
Quigley Down Under.
There you go.
Love that movie. Start hitting the dregs now. Oh, The Quick and the Dead.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it starts with a T.
No,
but...
that's fine. We'll accept it.
Yeah, and then number 5 with a Q. Put the gun down, Rick. Put the gun down.
You can do it.
I know I can.
Don't stare at the barrel.
It's so large and intimidating. Let's see. A movie with a Q. There wasn't a Q*bert movie, was there?
No, there was not.
There was not. Was there a... Okay, for time's sake, I'm going to yield. I know I'm going to eat a bullet here at the end anyway.
Well, there's Quiet Man, The Queen.
Quiet Man.
But well done on getting 4 out of 5.
Quiet Man. I love that movie. I love that movie. Why couldn't I get that?
Because you're a rusty agent.
I am a rustiest of agent. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Training, as always, will continue in the field until our junior agents are able to handle any situation. Thank you for accepting our reports. Until next time, junior agents, aka the Rusty Agents, signing out.
Oh, those guys are always good for. I know we edited this part out, but we were just like screaming movies that start with Q through that whole listen when we first.
Quicksilver, man, Quicksilver.
I think we're always screaming at Jeff.
I screamed out Quickly Down Under, and Jeff got that one, so I feel like we have a bond now. I love that movie too.
So he's not much quick, but he's very much dead.
Well, guys, we have one final send-in, but it's a little bit lengthy. So what we're going to do is we're going to tack it on to the very end of this episode. Once the podcast is over and you hear the outro music and there probably will be some outtakes, right after that, at the very tail end, we're going to hear from Agent Daly. That's Ryan Daly from many great podcasts in the Fire and Water Network. Actually, we're going to hear from Ryan's wife. We're going to hear from the Lady Daly, who has a lot
Dame Daly.
The Dame Daly.
Daly, I like it.
She has a lot of experience with the Siena, Italy horse race, that really confined in the streets horse race. That was
Yeah.
Apparently, I think she's been to that and she's got thoughts on that. So she's going to give those after the end of the show, just because it's kind of a lengthy clip, but worth checking out if you want to know a little bit more about the Siena horse race.
So we got some bonus material.
Bonus material from the Lady Daly. And we thank the Daly family for thinking of us and including that in our show.
Yeah, thank you for being a friend. So that'll bring us to a close on this episode of MI6 Rookie Agent. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this crew and want to hear more from them, but in the realm of comic books, check out the Longbox Crusade. Pat, where can that be found?
Well, Jason, I'm glad you asked. You can find the Longbox Crusade on www.longboxcrusade.com. You can find us on the Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at Longbox Crusade. You can also find us on many, many podcasting apps out there because we have podcasts everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We've got podcasts everywhere.
Back to you, Jarrod.
Well, thanks, fellas, for taking on yet another dangerous mission. Thanks to you listeners who tuned in. And oh, by the way, for you listeners who tuned in and made it all the way to this part of the show, guess what, guys? Listener giveaway. I was yard sailing last weekend and I found a copy of Quantum of Solace on DVD.
Whoa.
It's got some other person's name written on it. It's clearly from a yard sale, but I think it's still good and we'll play. You know what? Who wants the pride of owning the second, possibly third-hand copy of Quantum of Solace?
Well, it'll be third-hand by the time they get it.
That's right. It used to belong to Tony and Christie. It's written on the case. I bought it at Tony and Christie's yard sale. I assume it was there. This could be your copy of Quantum of Solace directly from the yard sale artist himself. So it's like a full circle thing. If you've made it this far, comment on our show on Twitter using hashtag Yard Sale Quantum. All right. Hashtag Yard Sale Quantum. We're going to see everybody who uses that hashtag because we appreciate you listening all the way to the end of the show. We'll pick a random winner to send that DVD to. It'll be your prize, your third-hand prize. Get fired up, people. And of course, if you want to leave us a question or a comment on this or any other episodes, you can contact the show on Twitter at OHMSPod. Email again is ohmspod@outlook.com, or you can hit up any of us hosts here directly on social media. My contact is at Yard Sale Artist. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all Yard Sale Artists. Jason.
I'm at Weasel Skull on Twitter and Jason Alberich on Facebook and Instagram. Pat.
You can find me on the Twitter at Christatos01. Delvin.
And you can find me at DEE_RAY1977.
The next episode of MI6 Rookie Agents will feature Skyfall. And guess what, boys? Bond goes rogue. Oh, goodness. And remember, On Her Majesty's Secret Podcast will return. Whoa. Generic lyrics, bang, bang.
Once when I was with Am in Tokyo, we had an interesting experience.
Outtakes.
Thank you, Miss Moneypenny. That's all.
You better shut those dogs up.
Yeah, I told those dogs, you better shut up.
Okay, do this, Pat. We'll be back. We'll be back with the dogs.
Run it back. Corals, watch out for that. Stay away from that. That monster coral. They're coming for you.
Full speed ahead.
I dare you to tell your wife to fetch your shoes.
Hold on.
We can wait till the dogs are done.
You're screaming bloody murder over there.
What's happening? Are you being robbed?
You may want to get up out your basement. What's going on?
My wife's home, so.
Go potty.
Hold on, I'll be back.
Oh, the wife is home. We've all been there. Did I put the smut away? Is it still paused on the TV in the living room?
Did I clear the cookies?
Y'all are amateurs. First of all, like once you're done, We have to turn it off. Dude, use the private one. Like
that's right, the private browser.
Yeah, use the private browser.
Your private browser.
Your browser for money.
Because she ain't got to know.
We're old enough to remember when you had to it was like you'd be driving to work, you'd be like, did I leave the VHS tape in the player?
With that, I'm going to hand it back over to Jason.
All right, and I will flip it to Jarrod.
Or should you want me to flip it to hand it over to Jarrod? Want me to pass it?
Go ahead, dude.
We want to smack it up, flip it, and rub it down.
Oh,
no! You were talking about Mathis.
Yes.
You said Mathis, didn't you?
Yes.
I'm an idiot.
That's okay.
Yes.
Outtakes.
Yes. Hold on.
Double O player, Pat.
How many of these we've done? 22?
I got the whole music for you.
You can also find us on, I don't know where I was going with it, but
find us online at www.longboxcrusade.com.
I said that in the beginning. So
okay.
I think that's where I screwed up first, but there you go.
We'll see you there.
Yeah. You'll find us.
The chat.
We chatted. Mm-hmm. I just now started the broadcast.
We just took a huge chit.
Jason gave me gold outtake within 3 seconds.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Hello, MI6 Rookie Agents. This is Ryan Daly, long time, first time, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Angela Drew, who is just jumping at the chance to offer some contextual background information on the Palio horse race that is shown at the beginning of Quantum of Solace when Bond is chasing the double agent through the streets of Siena. Angela, you have been to Siena, you spent a lot of time there, and in particular, you know a lot about this horse race. What is the Palio? When is it held? Where is it held? And who are the people involved?
So it's a medieval horse race. A American kind of metaphor for it would be that it's the Super Bowl and the World Series at the same time, and also just like every fair and like exciting thing that you could possibly think of. It's an incredibly complex cultural, social experience. There's 2 races every year. There's one on July 2nd and there's one on August 16th. There are 10 horses that are representing Contrada running in this race. And there are a total of 17 Contrada in the entire city, but only 10 get to run each race.
What is a Contrada? Is it like a district or like a sort of sub-region?
Yeah, it's a neighborhood. And they originally were kind of constructed around where people lived, right? So you lived in the area. And the names of them kind of connect to the livelihood of the people who lived there. You see this in the film that there's these flags waving, right? And like those are the Contrada colors.
You said there's 17 Contrada in Siena. Only 10 of them are in each one of the races. How is that determined? Is there a playoff situation, or who determines who gets to actually race?
So there's a little bit of a fair rotation here. If you're part of the 7 Contrada that didn't run in the last Palio, you're definitely running in this Palio. And then to figure out the next 3 seats, they draw randomly. So by luck, a Contrada could be running lots of Palios in a row, but you'll at least run every other one. So when this whole thing begins, there's, they figure out which Contrada are running, like they pull those 3. And they start preparing the campo, right? That square that you see where everyone's standing, that's all stone. And they bring in tons of sand and they pack it down and they turn it into a racetrack.
And is that, you can kind of see it within the movie that some of the turns they're making aren't necessarily like the turns you would see on a normal racetrack. They're kind of making like hairpin, like right turns in this.
Yes, and I don't think you can see it in any shots in the movie, but like they have got Formula One racing pads on one of those corners, because one of those corners is like a killer corner. And it really is just this like, days and days and days of like they're marching through the streets, parading and chanting, and you see part of the parade in Quantum of Solace. You see individuals in this traditional kind of medieval dress, like they twirl flags and they train like kids to do this, and like they get to march in the parade. I have all these videos of people like marching under my apartment window, like spinning their flags, and the streets are really narrow. So it's like, and I remember once, not once, several times, but one particular time, some friends and I were trying to go out for gelato, and we could not get where we wanted to go because we kept getting trapped by huge crowds of people and horses, right? Like you'd come around the corner, there'd be a huge crowd of men surrounding a horse singing. And you're like, you can't get around that. You got to go find another way. So anyway, the polio begins. They draw what Contrada are going to be. And this is really the only time that the polio isn't rife with corruption. They have this big stage set up in front of the Piazza Pubblico, and they have children who draw from one bucket a ball with the color of a Contrada on it. So they pull it out. And they're like, okay, I've got this Contrada. And then from another bucket, they pull the name of a horse. And that's how the Contrada get their horse. It's drawn by chance.
So they have sort of a pool of eligible horses,
yes.
But they don't. It's not like a Contrada is breeding a specific horse to be their polio horse.
No.
You've got a group of horses just kind of bred to be the best race horses, and then it's essentially a luck lottery of which Contrada gets which horse.
Yes. Yes. So the horses that are entered are they're career race horses. They're not just random horses. They're bred to race, and they race in other races, and their owner's going to bring them in and, enter them into the polio. And the horse doesn't actually, the Contrada's match with the horse, and the horse has to run the race. The Contrada hires a jockey, and the jockey they hire depends on the type of horse they got. So this is where things get really fun. If a Contrada pulls a really good horse, they're going to spend a lot of money to hire a really good jockey. If a Contrada pulls a bad horse, they're going to hire a jockey who's good at kind of causing trouble, especially if and the other thing is the Contrada all have rivals. And if a Contrada gets a kind of a horse that's not great at the polio, but their rival gets a really good horse, they'll start going into sabotage mode, and they'll start bribing other Contrada. They'll hire a jockey that's known for causing trouble. They go into sabotage mode. And then if you get a horse that's unknown, then you kind of have to go in the middle. You have to get a pretty good jockey, but you're not going to go all out because you don't want to use the money if you're not going to win the race. Once they have their horse and their jockey, they're under 24-hour guard, so they can't be sabotaged or bribed. The race itself has a 3-hour parade. You see a part of that in Quantum of Solace, the 3-hour parade. And then the race begins. But the interesting thing is that it usually takes a couple hours for the race to actually occur. They have a very precise way of lining up the horses. Once they're all out there, they draw lots and they draw order. This is the last moment that all the bribery happens as well, because you don't know who's going to be in the starting position. Everyone gets these interesting positions. So they line up 9 of the horses at the starting line. And of course, the horses, will turn around or turn this way or that way, or they'll get kind of upset at another horse that's being bumping into them. So they keep wiggling around. And then the 10th horse is the starting horse, which is standing behind them. And when everyone's in line, that horse can go whenever it wants. And once that horse crosses the line and knocks down the rope, the rest of the horses can go. So if you get drawn and you're the starting horse, you're in a really bad position to win the polio because you're in the back and you're on the outside of the track, but you're in a really good position to make a ton of money. Because if you pay a Contrada that's in the starting position to start when your rival is facing the wrong direction, that horse is going to have a hard time winning the race. But the funny thing is everyone has to be lined up in the right order when the race starts. And if anyone's out of order, then it's a false start. So for 2 or 3 hours, you're going to have false start after false start, and like the horses aren't lining up and the jockeys aren't behaving. And it just goes on and on and on and on until finally that starting horse goes through, everyone's in the right order, and then they go. And it really is 90 seconds. And you would not believe the screaming of the 90 seconds. And it really is just so exciting. It's 3 laps. The positions change quite a bit. And actually, this last Palio, this summer, a horse lost its jockey on that really tight turn, and it won the Palio. The horse can win the Palio without the jockey.
I was going to ask that, like before when you mentioned that, the Contrada, I guess, is not disqualified when the jockey falls off because
No, they don't
it's
need
up
the
to the horse to finish the race.
It's the horse. Right? They do not need the jockey at all.
And getting back to, you sort of alluded how intense these rivalries are. I think you mentioned to me, like, the worst thing for a Contrada is not to lose the Palio. It's for your rival to win.
Yes, it's horrible for your rival to win, and it's even worse if you come in second to your rival. Because it's okay if you come in last in the Palio. Because if you come in last, that means you didn't have a chance of winning. If you come in second, that is the ultimate shame because you could have won. And if you come in second to your rival, it's like really serious. So when I was in Siena, I had the opportunity and the honor to spend time with people in the Onda Contrada. These Contrada, they have their own little churches and they have their own museums. And really, like, Palio is actually a big banner that's painted by an artist. And like, that's what you win if you win the Palio. And that's it. Like, that's what you win. You win this banner and you win bragging rights. The winner of the Palio spends a ton of money, and the loser of the Palio makes a ton of money from bribes and such. But nobody wants to lose the Palio. Everything's like backwards and on its head. The individuals in the Contrada, they're baptized into the Contrada. It is very secular, but there's all of these religious elements in it. They bless the horse. They bring the horse before the race into their chapel and they bless it. And if it has an accident while in the church, they see that as good luck. There's just these elaborate parades. There's these dinners. I went to a dinner on Via Giovanni Dupre. Like it's down the entire street. They shut down the entire street, and like the whole street is lined in tables, and there's hundreds of people having dinner together. You know, if you win, it's even worse, right? They're like having all these huge dinners. They're marching through the streets. They wear pacifiers because they see it as a rebirth. But the year I was there, right, I'm with the Onda people, and I bought the Onda scarf and I had it tied around my neck and hanging on my shoulders to show my Onda pride. And Torre is Onda's rival, and Torre won the Palio, and Onda came in second.
Oof.
Yeah. And we actually couldn't go back to the Contrada because we had to respect that they needed to grieve. Like, it was serious. Like, we couldn't go back. They needed to be alone. It was incredible.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Then the last thing before we go, it seems like Siena would think it's really cool that, the major American movie studio is filming this James Bond movie in their city during this big event, but maybe not because they take this race so seriously?
Yeah, they take this very seriously, and the Sienese were not impressed by having these cameras and this recording happening during their Palio. They just they were in the way. They weren't respecting, they're just they're mad. And really, the authentic Palio shots are just shots that were taken, during the Palio. But in any of the recording that they did in Siena, they did it not during the Palio, right? They got extras and they set it up because there was no way they were interrupting this already incredibly chaotic time filming a movie. They don't care about that. There's a lot of little stuff that watching it, when they were running through the Campo, the guy that Bond is chasing shoots into the crowd and shoots a woman. Mm-hmm. And then they jump over the barrier into the racetrack. And then it looks like they run into the Piazza Pubblico, and it's empty in there. that is not what the Piazza Pubblico would be like in the Polio. Like, they have paramedics in there. Like, it's a whole like mini field hospital set up in there, because like the people out in the Campo are like seriously standing in the hot Sienese sun for like 5 hours. And it's very normal that people pass out. They just pass out from dehydration and exhaustion, and it's very routine. Like, they're just, people lift them up. It's like you're at a concert, right? They crowd surf them over to the barrier. The paramedics pick them up and bring them into the Piazza Pubblico and treat them. So really, the woman that got shot, there were paramedics very close by. So that's good for her.
Yeah, good. Hopefully she survived.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Longbox Crusade Elseworlds. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you around the alternate dimensions in the future. The music themes for this show are done by musical genius Joe November. Please check out his SoundCloud at Joseflin99. That's Joseflin99. You will not regret it.